Hi y'all, I'm Amber, welcome back to Cat's Reads, and today I'm going to share with you my Tbr recap and my next 6 book Tbr. I mentioned this in previous Tbrs that I don't do monthly wrap-ups anymore because I take too long, the videos stretch out, and I don't like the pressure of trying to get a certain amount of books done in a certain amount of time. So I don't do that. I do individual reviews for those books, and I'm liking that. But because of that, you don't get to see like the books that I reread, and sometimes I'm not going to do reviews for some of the books that I put on my Tbr because I DNF them and I don't believe in reviewing books I did not finish. Therefore, I decided to start a Tbr recap where I will talk about the books that I reread, the books that I got from the library, and of course you'll have seen those through my reviews also. And then we will finally talk about the 6-book Tbr that I had set and what the results are for that. I wanted to do this especially because since I don't do monthly wrap-ups, you don't really see a recap of the Tbr that I was supposed to have read, and I like the idea that I'm kind of recapping that, mainly for myself, because I like to see how my reading has stacked up since I did my last Tbr. So, that being said, let's get on with the recap. First, I'm going to talk about the books that I reread. I only reread 2 books during this time, and that's just because I was rereading the Harry Potter series. I read the last 2 books in the series by J.K. Rowling, The Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows. I can now finally say that I have reread this series in its entirety for the first time. I've been wanting to reread this series for so long, and I've started and I've always ended up stopping, and it has nothing to do with the books. It is always because I felt this pressure to get through my own Tbr, and I hadn't figured out how I was going to balance out my rereads and my own Tbr and be able to work on both. And I finally figured that out, so I'm very happy with the way things are going. But because I was so sucked into the Harry Potter world, I think it really affected my reading. My library books and the first 2 books that I read off my Tbr did not affect them, but after that, because I was finished with the books and I was struggling to get out of the world, to step away, I was struggling to start something new and to get into reading because I just couldn't get out of the world. I was stuck into it. I wanted to watch the films over and over again. As I was rewatching the films again for the second time, I was actually starting to think, maybe I should read the books again. That's not happening, by the way. I'm going to go back into rereading the books or watching the films, but it was just a hard struggle to get out of that. And I don't know if anybody has had that happen where you get so sucked into the world that you can't get back out, or you just feel like you're struggling. I guess it's going into a reading slump, really, but because of that, I really couldn't read any of my other books I had planned. And I will talk about what happened with those books later. Yes, those were the 2 books that I reread, and I, of course, gave them 5 stars. Now on to the library books. The first book that I actually did read was Third Degree by Greg Iles. I gave this 3 stars. Also, a quick note, all links will be down below to my previous Tbr video and to all the reviews that I've done for the books that I did actually read. The second library book that I did pick up and didn't finish, though, was Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult. And this has nothing to do with the book itself. I did not realize that I was only going to have a week to read this, and when I did, I knew that it was never going to happen. This book is, I think, almost 500 pages long, and I'm not one of those people who cares about the length of books, but I only had a week, and the subject matter is tough. I have to admit that I was struggling specifically with the father's perspective because of the fact that he's a white supremacist. I didn't want to have to rush myself, and I was actually really into the book and what it was talking about, and I love how Jodi Picoult handles these subjects with kind of giving you all the way around perspectives, and so I want to be able to read it in my own pace. I will be buying this book when it comes out in paperback because there's no way I'm going to buy a $30 book, no matter how much I love the author. So I'm hoping that the paperback is going to come out sometime in the coming year because I really need to read this book. right now is not the time. A week to read this book was just too much pressure. The third and last book that I had gotten from the library and actually started but DNF'd was The Circle by Dave Eggers. The only real reason that I wanted to read this was because of the film that's going to be coming out in the coming year, starring Emma Watson, and the trailer looked good, and I love the fact that Emma Watson is in it, but in trying to read the book, I wasn't really getting into it. I don't know if it has to do with the slump that happened with the Harry Potter books, or if I just wasn't really getting into the book itself, but for now, it's just not happening, and I consider it a DNF because I wasn't really into the story. And now to recap my actual TBR. The first two books were Bread and Wine by Ignacio Salón and Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. Both of them got 2 stars. The next 4 books I was supposed to have read, I either DNF'd or put to the side. 3 of the books were put to the side, and the 6th and last book that I was supposed to have read, I DNF'd. And the DNF was The Clan of the Cave Bear by Jean M. I believe is how you pronounce her last name. As I mentioned in my currently reading video, I wasn't exactly enjoying this, and a couple days after I had made that video, I decided to put it aside. I thought maybe I would pick it up at a later date, but as I came to doing this video, I realized I had no interest at all in the book anymore, so I completely DNF'd it. Then I tried to pick up Broken Monsters by Lauren Fuchs and Cave Dweller by Dorothy Allison. These 2 books were definitely affected by the slump that came from rereading the Harry Potter books, so I decided to put them to the side, and I realized that I just needed to push the reset button on my TBR, start anew with completely new different set of books. So I put aside also Cold Mountain by Charles Frazier. These books will definitely be read at some point in the next year. It's just I needed to, like I said, push that reset button. I knew that if I tried to put them into the next TBR, I just wasn't going to get anything out of them. And I really don't want to have my reading of them affected by that slump. That being said, I am so ready to get back into reading, and I'm very happy to be able to start a new set of books. So now I want to share with you the 6 books I plan to read next. The first being The Great Journey, Americans in Paris by David McCullough. For this time, I'm only going to be reading the first part. I've noticed that when I get into large nonfiction works that I burn myself out when I try to read the whole book, and not one sitting, but at all at once. I don't want that to happen anymore, so I decided that I'm going to take them a part at a time and go slowly as I need to get everything out of it that I can, and also in the hopes that I will be able to enjoy the book better this way. So it's going to be a while before you get a review from this book, but with each TBR that I do, I might do a little mention about how I'm doing. Next, I will be reading A Fine Balance by Rohit Mystery. I did read the first chapter of this book a year ago, and I was absolutely engrossed by it, and I really wanted to read this, and when I saw this for super cheap, I decided to pick it up, and I'm very, very, very happy to be able to finally get to this, because it's been a long time. The third book is Wild from Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail by Cheryl Strayed. I think I feel like I'm going to have to temper my expectations of this book, because there's just been a lot of hype around this, and I don't want that to affect the reading, but I do have high hopes for this. I loved Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I kind of feel like this is in the same street as the fact that there's travel going on, and it's a spiritual journey of sorts. So I'm crossing my fingers that I'm going to enjoy this. In the Shadow of the Banyan, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name, so that's the author's name. I will also be reading The Two Towers, the second part in The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a long time coming for me to continue on with this. It's such a hard book to get through. I read the first part. I'm not really hitting off with it, but it's been my goal to read this in its entirety for such a long time, considering how much I love the film trilogy. And I think that Peter Jackson did an amazing job, considering how much there is in this book. and being able to compact it in just 3 films and still feel like he did justice with it. I read only the first part, and I think that he did great with what he had to do with. That being said, and normally I would just DNF something that I was enjoying completely, but because of the fact that I love the film so much, and I think there is something to the book, I want to at least be able to finish it and kind of see where I landed then. I probably won't do an actual review of this because I just don't know how I could ever get a proper thought on this when it's been such a long time from the first to now, or even the second part. So yeah, we'll see where I go with that. The 6th and last book that I will be reading is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This was the first Margaret Atwood book that I heard about and that I wanted to read, and I could never find it. I kept finding other books by her and reading those instead. And finally, in the last year, I was able to get this, and now I am finally reading it. It's about freaking time, I must say. So there you go, that was my TBR recap and the next 6 books that I will be reading. Tell me down below if you've read any of the books that I mentioned here. I would love to talk with them down below. I would also love to hear what you all have been reading or planning to read in the coming month. Thank you all so much for watching, and keep smiling.